Hey guys, it's Deborah. Welcome back to my channel. So as promised, a lot of you have been asking for another cook with me. So today I'm going to make Albondigas soup. So it's basically like a Mexican meatball soup, Mexican meatballs with vegetables in a soup. So I've got my spices going. I already have my, just a quick tip for y'all. I got my cilantro soaking in a bowl of water. So what I typically do is when I get my cilantro, I wash it underneath cold water, and then you want to put it in a bowl of water, and what that does is all the sand, if there's sand in it, it goes directly down to the bottom of the bowl. So just a quick tip for you guys. So I've got that going. I'm going to start making the albondigas. I'm going to sit you up on the tripod and show you how I make the little meatballs. So I'm prepping everything for the albondigas, the actual albondigas, which are the little Mexican meatballs. You've seen me haul these before. This is the whole grain brown rice. It's frozen in the bag. It's steamable or steam fresh. I typically, now this is my like quick version. This isn't the authentic version because typically you'd put in uncooked white rice. But I like using this brown rice, and I'll steam it in the bag for about 3 minutes. That way it's not too hot, because you wanna, this is gonna go in your meatballs. So I'm gonna go ahead and steam those up, and I'll see you shortly. Okay guys, so I put my ground beef in a bowl already. I already put an egg in there because I already lost an egg to the floor. So I also took out the cilantro. Another tip for you, you want to take it out and then wrap it up in some paper towels, and it'll take up that moisture. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut up a small little onion. You could put onion in here if you want, or you don't have to. I love onion. So I'm gonna cut up a small onion and then some cilantro and put the other ingredients in, guys. And then I also want to apologize. It has been gloomy here and it's starting to get dark out, so my lighting's not that great. So I have the ground beef in here. I've got the egg. I already did steam up the rice. So I typically put in about 3/4 of a bag. I have about a pound, a little over a pound of ground beef. So I'll use about 3/4 of this bag, and this is 10 ounces. So I guess 8 ounces. I'm gonna put my cilantro in there. My onion, like I said, you don't have to add onion. I love the flavor of onion. Your spices, I'm gonna use the Goya adobo. I like the hot spicy. You probably use about 1.5 tablespoons. Some garlic. So I use about 1 teaspoon of the garlic powder, and I am going to put 1 tablespoon of the minced fresh garlic in there. I love garlic as well. Now remember, this is all to taste. I'm going to use, I got sea salt, so about almost 1 tablespoon, and then I love black pepper, so about 1.5 tablespoons. And then you just mix it all up and add if you need. Add more rice if you need it, add another egg if you need it. Basically your rice is your binder. Like if you were to make meatballs, you typically would use breadcrumbs. Well, the rice is going to be the binding ingredient on these meatballs. It smells so good already with the fresh garlic, the onion, the cilantro. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna rinse my hands, and then I'm gonna add in a little bit black pepper, a little bit more adobo. So I'll be right back. So I'm gonna add in about another 1.5 teaspoons of the adobo. Another tablespoon of black pepper. Remember, I love black pepper. All this is to taste. And that's it. Guys, the adobo always makes me cough. Cough or sneeze. So I'm just working that in. I do like the consistency of it, so I'm not going to add any more rice. And then the size of your meatballs really depends. Typically, I like them smaller than a regular meatball. So I am going to make them about this size because you are going to, you know, they're gonna get smaller in cooking. So typically, a lot of people make them half that size. Some people make them as big as regular meatballs. Again, it's all in your preference. And like I said, this isn't like 100%, this is authentic. It's not 100% like from scratch. This is, to me, is my express version. If you're running short on time, you can whip this up within 20 minutes. It's as fast as you can make meatballs. So I'm going to continue to make these meatballs, and I will see you when I'm done. Okay guys, so I have, excuse me, my meatballs all done. They're by the stove. I'm going to cut up my zucchinis, my squash. They're so sorry looking. And then it's a Mexican squash. It's chayote. So you just rinse it off, cut it up, put it in there, just like zucchini and squash. It's just a Mexican, or this one's actually from Costa Rica. It's a Spanish squash. And then typically, like I said, this is like my express version. I get the carrot chips, but of course they were out. And I'm gonna cut these in half because these are too big, I think. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut up all my veggies. I'm gonna put in one jalapeno. I'm just gonna cut it in half. And then I'm gonna put in one large onion. So I tried to cut thicker pieces of these just because I don't want them to get too soft. Now I've made this soup before for my in-laws when we were staying with them over the summer. And my mother-in-law, they're Italian, and she's like, this is just very similar to the Italian wedding soup. And it is. I mean, I've had that plenty of times. It is, but obviously, you know, you would use parsley instead of cilantro, and you'd use Italian seasonings. And here you can use, in the meatballs also, I didn't say, or even in the soup itself, you can use oregano, typically, or like a Mexican oregano. I typically don't do that for my albondigas just because it reminds me too much of like a menudo or a pozole. And I love those, don't get me wrong, I love pozole. I won't make menudo. I'll eat it, but I won't make it because I don't know how to deal with the stomach lining, and I don't want to learn. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having it by my aunt's house or something. I don't need to make it. But pozole I make all the time. It's on my radar to make soon. I typically like to cut around this. It's like a little seed. And then I'll just cut this up. Skin and all. Typically with any kind of vegetable, I like to keep skin on. Isn't that where all the nutrients are usually found? Okay, so then my jalapeno, like I said, I'm using one. I'm not making a lot of soup because I just made some and I have some frozen. But of course I lost that cook with me, it's one of the ones that I lost. All right guys, so I cut up the carrots, and then here you'll see me just rough chopping this onion. So I cut the whole onion in half, and then I'm just cutting it 4 times, so it's really chunky. So now I'm gonna move you over to by the stove, and we're gonna assemble this soup. Okay guys, so I got the pot filled about 1/4 of the way, and the reason is because I am using an entire 32-ounce container of beef broth. So I'm gonna go ahead, add that in. I already have the flame on medium to high. This part is super, 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 super. Okay, so I put in the beef broth. Now I'm just gonna add in the cut up vegetables without trying to make a mess. the carrots and the onions as well. And the onions, just putting them in just like this. So now before I put in the meatballs, because I'm going to put in the meatballs, I like to add in some of my spices now. Let's get this sucker out of the way, the one that makes me cough or sneeze. So I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons of this in there. The granulated garlic, about 2 tablespoons as well. The black pepper. A little bit of salt. Oh, it's kosher salt. I'm sorry, guys. I thought it was sea salt. It's kosher salt. And I like adding a can of chipotle salsa. You can add in the can with the actual peppers in the salsa, but I just like to add in the salsa because I already put in a jalapeno in there. And typically, depending on how much soup I make, this should be enough. If not, I'll add in 2. But you don't even have to add it in if you're not a spicy person. You could just put in tomato sauce. And then we'll go in and stir this around a little bit. And you'll probably add more seasoning once the meatballs are cooked and you actually get to taste the soup. Now I'm taking 1 pack of the sazon goya. It's ajo and cebolla, which means garlic and onion. This is like a staple in my pantry. I use this in typically everything. So 1 pack of this. And then this is another staple in my pantry. The caldo de tomate. It's tomato bouillon with chicken flavor. Suckers are pretty huge. This is 1 tablet. I'll just take it. I use this in my Spanish rice. I'm gonna go ahead and link that video down below, or you can tap this eye right up here and it'll link you to that video. But in my Spanish rice, I do like to crush it up. You don't have to in this since it's soup, but I still like to do that. Give this one last stir, then I'm going to add in the meatballs. Because this is what, obviously you want the vegetables to soften up, but you want the meatballs to cook up. So I gently put them in there. So guys, that's it. I'm going to carefully stir this up just a little bit. You can also put potato in here. I try to keep it a little bit on the healthy side. That's why I typically use turkey meat, and I would mix the potatoes and use the brown rice in here, but let me show you what I do put in there. I add in little niblets, little corns, and this is what they actually look like, but they won't go in until half hour before the soup is done, half hour. So you want to go ahead and bring this up to a boil. Once it starts boiling, then you'll want to cover it. I have it on between medium and high. So once it starts boiling, I'll bring it back down to medium, cover it, and then just wait, Typically it'll take about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So I'm gonna let this continue to cook and I'll catch you in a little bit. Okay guys, so I switched over to my phone, because I was editing the other video. I want to get this up tonight. So anyway, I did put a half hour before it's done. It's about 1 hour, 45 minutes later. I did put 6 ears of corn in there. And I did, before I put the corn, I did add in a few more spices. So that's what the soup is. It's got another 15 minutes. Everything's pretty soft. I'm just waiting for the corn to really warm through. But obviously it's steaming, so I'm sure it's nice and hot. But it's good, so I'm gonna go ahead and serve it up. I like to top it off with some cilantro, lime, and then I just serve up these fried tortillas. Just right on top is like a little topper. I usually slice up a little avocado, so I'm gonna go ahead and serve it up and show you what it looks like. Okay guys, so this is how it is, just normal without any toppings. You'll see the albondigas came out really good. All the vegetables are in there, the corn, and now I'm gonna top it off. Okay guys, so I just topped it off with a little bit of cilantro, some lime here on the side, and then the fried little strips that I was telling you about. So that's all I do, and serve it up with some warm tortillas and enjoy. Thanks guys, thanks for watching. If you're not already subscribed, please click that red button down below, subscribe, and I will catch you at the next one. Bye-bye.